I am not a techie person at all. I need help setting up my TV and my computer. I mean, I'm not a technical genius by any means. So, like, you don't have to be a technical genius to be in the tech industry. But anyway, I thought some of the skill sets with the tech industry being a very customer focused industry, a very relationship focused industry, that I could succeed in.
Welcome back to From a Woman to a Leader. I'm Limor Bergman Gross, your host, and today I have a pleasure to speak with Emily Jackson. Emily is a senior channel and inside sales manager at an RFID technology company. And Emily built her tech sales career after starting out in the fitness industry. She had no technical background and described herself as introverted. In this conversation, we get into how to figure out what you're actually good at when your job isn't telling you. We also talk about how to make a career pivot into tech without a tech resume. We also talk about why I'm not aggressive enough to be in sales is a myth women keep telling themselves, and how to take the leap when no one is handing you permission. So, for all the women out there, if you feel you're not technical enough, not extroverted enough, or not the right type for the role you actually want, stay with us and listen to the episode. So, are you ready? Let's dive right in. Hi, Emily. How are you?
Good. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. It's a pleasure having you today. I'm very excited to talk to you because you made quite a change, quite a drastic change, I would say. You moved from the fitness industry into tech.
Yes.
So how did it happen?
Yeah, so it was an interesting journey. And if you would have asked me while I was in the fitness industry if tech would have been where I ended up, I would have thought you were crazy. And then I'm in sales. And if you would have said that a few years ago, I would have said, well, I'm not going to be good at that. That doesn't make sense for me. But now I love it. I love the industry I'm in. I love what I'm doing. And, how that really came about is I was in the fitness industry. I had a bachelor's degree in organizational leadership. So I got that bachelor's degree because at that time in college, as many of us do, I didn't know where I wanted to go career wise. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to get a broad type of degree that I can kind of go anywhere. And I love working out. Fitness is a passion of mine personally. So I thought, okay, that makes sense. Maybe I'll go into fitness. And I had always taught group fitness classes and done personal training throughout college. So I got a role in the campus recreation center where I graduated from. And I was doing business and membership services at first, and then eventually transitioned to the fitness coordinator role, where I kind of led the fitness instructors and the team in the weight room and things like that. And, I enjoyed that role. I didn't dislike it by any means, but I got to a point where I'd say probably about 4 or 5 years in where I couldn't foresee what a career path would really look like for me. I am the type of person that loves to continually grow personally and professionally. And I just thought, what is that capability here in this type of industry? And for me, I couldn't see that. So I started to contemplate, where could I go outside of this? And what I did is I just really started to turn inward and think, like, what are all those kind of quintessential questions that you may ask yourself before, like, preparing for an interview, right? Like, what am I really good at? What are my strengths? What do I think I can succeed in? So I just started to really ask myself all of those things and dive deep into that. And I discovered that, while I'm an introvert, I do like the connections and talking with people. And so I like that type of relationship management. Maybe I'm not, the life of the party type of person, bubbly personality necessarily, but I like talking with people as long as it's about things I know about. And so I kind of just was assessing all of that. And now first before getting into the tech industry, I was briefly with a large aviation company as an operations specialist. And that role was appealing because it's very task oriented and very just like analytical, which is something I discovered I'm good at, and I just have that skill set. But then the pandemic hit, and that aviation industry, as you all know, it struggled.
Yeah.
And so that company cut 20% of their workforce. And so I lost my role there. And so then I had to reassess again, right? I had to think, okay, well, that wasn't necessarily where I fit. And, I could look for other operations roles, but let me explore other avenues that I could be successful. And I looked at the tech industry, and now let me tell you one thing is I am not a techie person at all. I need help setting up my TV and my computer. I mean, I'm not a technical genius by any means. So like, you don't have to be a technical genius to be in the tech industry. But anyway, I thought some of the skill sets with the tech industry being a very customer focused industry, a very relationship focused industry that I could succeed in. So I applied and got the position at a large tech distributor and was a business development manager there. And then from that was able to build additional connections to get my role that I'm in now.
And now you're in a sales role, right?
Yes, yes. So I'm a senior channel manager for an RFID technology company.
Yeah. And there's so many wisdom just from what you describe right now, right? I mean, first of all, you have no idea what you want to do when you're 18.
Right.
Right? I mean,
Right.
most of us don't really know what we want, and that's okay. And the way you kind of took chances, and you're not afraid to open your horizons and think, oh, the tech industry can actually be a fit for me, even though I'm not a technical person. How did you get the courage? Because I asked it because I know a lot of women probably say, hey, that's not for me. I'm not a technical person. Why would someone even hire me? So how did you kind of, get the courage to even consider that and apply?
Right. I mean, what I did is I just looked at what type of skills are they looking for? What type of individual? I mean, it could be as simple as just looking at the job description. Okay, do I kind of have some of those soft skills that they're asking? I don't have the hard skills that they're asking, but do I have those soft skills, and can I hone in on those in that interview process, that application process? And that's what I did. Hey, I don't have a tech background to know this product knowledge and so on, but that stuff is really learnable, whereas your soft skills, they're not as learnable. So I think focusing on that if you're making a big jump, and yeah, just like you said, taking chances. I mean, hey, the worst that can happen is you interview and you don't get it, right? Or you go after a job, you get in there, and then you decide, hey, this isn't for me. That's okay. Like, you have time to explore different areas. And I think one of the things I do with a colleague of mine is we go around to different colleges and talk to students about getting into the tech industry, because she also came from a fitness background. And what I want to encourage women, students, everybody out there is that you don't have to have it all figured out at 18, at 25, at 30, and on. You can keep on exploring, and what you're interested in changes throughout the seasons, right? Throughout the decades. And so that's okay. And you should hone in on that and try different things.
I absolutely agree with you, Emily, and I love your message. Yeah. To be honest, who wants to do the same thing for their
Yeah.
entire career?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I know. I can't imagine that, because, I think everyone innately in us likes to be better, right? Like, we want to improve, we want to be better. And if you're just doing the same job over and over again, even different variations of it, it can really get redundant and it kind of gets stale after a while, right? So I think that's always open yourself up to potential changes, career.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you mentioned kind of a process that you did with yourself, like you introspected yourself in the sense of what skills I have, what am I good at. What advice would you give to women about that process? Because a lot of times when we try to do it on ourselves, by ourselves, it's very difficult. It's very, I don't know what I'm good at. Like, I was in the fitness industry. I did this job. I don't know what I'm good at. It's very difficult to think about you in a different lens at a
Mm-hmm.
different industry.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that because one of the key things that really helped me in that process and continues to help me today is outside perspective. So your network, if you've got a mentor, if you've got a manager that you really trust or a colleague that you really trust, get their perspective on what you do well, what your strengths and skills are, because it's going to be not, I wouldn't say a better perspective, but it's going to be a different perspective because I think we all are our toughest critics, right? So
Yeah,
I may not see that I'm good at this, this, and this, but you, from that outside perspective, yeah, you think Emily's great at communication or Emily's great at this, and I would not say that, from my perspective. So I think getting with your network and your mentors to get their perspective is very key in learning that. And once you get that information, that opens up your mind of if she says that I'm good at this, then I think I'm also good at this because of these things. And another thing I would suggest is, whether that's that outside perspective or when you're internally evaluating your skills and your strengths, think of specific scenarios. So think of like things that you really enjoyed about your job. Like maybe you ran a project and it had these successes. What does that tell you about yourself? That tells you that you're good at, leadership. It tells you that you're good at communication, project planning, change management, or whatever that may be. So you can dive into your skill set by looking at specific scenarios that you've encountered.
absolutely. And I think that many of us just we don't value ourselves enough, right? I mean, we see things for granted, things that maybe, like you said, like building relationship with people, working with people, something that probably comes naturally to you. And you just say, yeah, it's just okay. Everyone is like that. But no, not
Right.
everyone is like that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the thing. Not everyone.
right, exactly right. And what's really interesting is that I talked about how I'm an introvert. And so I just automatically assumed because I'm an introvert, that means I'm not good at relationship management and customer, scenarios because I'm not that outgoing person that you may think of when you think of a salesperson
Yeah.
and or a successful salesperson especially. And so I thought, gosh, I don't think I could ever do that type of role because I don't have that personality naturally. But really, while those can be valuable skill sets for a sales role, that doesn't mean if you don't have those that you can't be successful. So I found success in sales just by being my true self and not really, having to mold myself to that different type personality type.
This is super powerful. Yeah. And it kind of leads us to the thing I wanted to talk about with you on transition to sales. First of all, how did you even realize that that's what you want? How did it happen?
Yeah. So, when I got into the tech industry, it was a business development role. And so it wasn't straight sales. It was more like relationship management. So that kind of got my feet wet a little bit with building relationships. And so I really enjoyed that and noticed like, oh, building these connections like really makes my day. And it really like I'm enthusiastic about it. And I thought if I could do that, then I think I could do the sales part. It just would be a little bit of a learning curve with, sales processes and things like that. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. And now I went into it not knowing if I would love it or not, but I ended up loving it. So, here I am.
Wonderful. You took a risk and you tried
Hmm.
it. That's the beauty of it, right? You said, "Oh, I think I'm gonna like it. I'm gonna try. I don't know how it's gonna be, but I'm gonna take a chance and try it."
Right. Yeah. And I wonder, like, what would have happened if I didn't take the chance? I mean, where would I be? Would I be in a role that I enjoyed still, or would I not? And, I'm glad that I took that chance. And honestly, because I took that chance, that has led me to take other chances and find success in those chance taking situations as well. So,
Like what, for example? Does something come to mind?
Well, I would say just advocating for myself more and taking the jump into more of a leadership role. I've been doing that here recently. And also, I believe that, among other things, I believe that my role in sales has helped with my confidence because I know that I can do those relationship managements. I can do those presentations because you constantly have to do sales presentations. And that has led me to what I do not as my professional role, but in the career transition coaching and the speaker type thing. So I'm a speaker, I'm an author and a career transition coach. And I think this sales role has really led to my confidence to do those things as well.
I'm sure it has. You know what? I wish everyone will take a sales role because selling is a quality that once you have it, you can pretty much do anything you want,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because we have to sell ourselves all the time, no matter if we are entrepreneurs, if we are employed, what role we are doing. This is like a skill you must have. I wish they
Right.
taught it in school.
It really would be valuable, whatever role that you go into. And I mean, especially like leadership roles and things. I mean, it's valuable to know because, like I said, it's all about relationship management. So every role that you're going to be in, you probably need to be able to manage relationships effectively, right? So, it can be valuable for any role that you're in.
Absolutely. And I love the sentence you mentioned. It's all about relationship management. And when you put that terminology into sales, selling is a relationship management. It kind of reduced the intimidation that
Mm.
many women have towards that role because there is this, as you said, like there's this bias around, well, a salesperson need to be an extroverted, charismatic white man.
And my assumption was aggressive as well. And I do not have an aggressive personality. So I went in, just as you said, kind of anticipating, like, oh gosh, I've got to change to be this way. But then I was like, you know what? That stresses me out. That is not me. That would make me unhappy if I was to pretend to be this way. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to approach it the way that I actually am and just kill with kindness essentially and do that communication and consistency and listening. I think listening for sales or for any relationship management role, that's your biggest thing to focus on is listening to your customers. And I find if you can do that, you can have success with any customer.
Absolutely. And as women, I'm generalizing here, but as women, we are good. We're good at listening.
Yes, yes. I think so too. And I also think that we're really good at that relationship management piece because think about all the relationships that women typically manage on a daily basis in their personal lives. We manage the in law relationship, we manage our partner relationship, we manage a lot of friend relationships. We typically manage the relationship with our parents. So I think women just thrive at relationships anyway. And so it really makes sense to be in this type of role that we would know how to do that.
Yeah, Emily, I think you give me and our listeners a lot of inspiration about you can be in sales.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you something. How would someone who listens to us and maybe she's like in completely different vertical, how would she know if a sales role is a good fit to what she likes doing and what she's good at?
Well, I would say if you value connection with other people, if you value, networking and making connections, then that likely would be a good fit for you. I would say if you're someone who is intrinsically motivated, I think to be successful in sales, you do have to be intrinsically motivated. It's not just an outside motivation piece because sales is what you make it essentially for any type of vertical role space and industry. So if you're intrinsically motivated, I think you will enjoy it. And then also one thing that I kind of had to, well, I mean, learn the hard way in the sense of it was a little bit difficult at first to get used to this is you're not always going to be successful in sales every quarter, every year. Sometimes it's not completely in your control. So being okay with that, if you're able to kind of roll with the punches and just say, hey, you know what, this didn't work. Let me switch to doing something else with my sales tactic or whatever. If you're able to do that, then I think you would enjoy it and do well.
Wonderful. So we talked about love, being building relationships with people, someone who is self-motivated, not someone who is waiting for someone to tell them what to do, but you have to
Right.
have this inner drive, right?
Yes.
To make it and
Yes.
be willing to fail, or maybe not fail, but have ups and downs and just
Right.
figure things out as you go.
Right. Exactly.
Now we'll touch another myth: how technical you need to be as a salesperson, especially when you work in tech companies and you're selling very technical products.
Right. I love that question because, as I mentioned, I am not a technical expert, but you do have to have a decent amount of product knowledge for what you're selling, right? Because you're the go-to, you're the initial person that customer is talking to. So you need to be able to give a good synopsis and dive a little bit deep into the techie side. But most of the time, most organizations have, solutions architects or engineers that you can then have come into your customer calls and get techie with it, as I would say. And so you can rely on them. And so really in sales, the customer point person, the face of the organization, is really what you're more focused on, with a decent background of the product. So I think, and that's, I'm glad you asked that, because I just want to encourage anybody out there that is maybe interested in the tech industry that you do not have to be this intensely technical person that has that engineering background and so on. You can be someone that comes from the fitness industry or communications industry or wherever you're coming from.
Wonderful. I think you just need to be open-minded and willing to learn.
Yes, yes. And I'm still learning to this day. And I guess that's what's really nice about this industry, is that even the most techie people, they're still learning too, because it changes constantly, right? It's very much evolving. So it's not like, oh, there's this book of knowledge that you have to learn, and then once you know all that, you're good. It's just continually changing. And so that's nice if you're someone coming in without that intense technical background, because everyone, even the techie people, are continually learning as well. So it makes it to where it's, you don't feel like you're completely offset from those individuals, if that makes sense. But I love that as well in regards to, it doesn't get boring, because we're always coming out with new stuff. There's always new stuff to focus on. And so it keeps it exciting in this industry.
Yeah, and I think it makes total sense. And to be honest, we have to constantly evolve and learn. We will never reach a point that we know everything. We have to keep learning all the time.
Right, exactly. And yeah, even your most tenured person, they don't know everything. They're learning just as you are, but they just have a few years on you as far as what they're learning.
For sure. And if a woman listens to us right now and say, hey, Emily, I'm just like you. Really, I'm like you. I think I can do it. But she has never been in tech. What would you recommend her to do? How will she start kind of putting a foot in the door and getting into tech and into a sales role?
Yep. I think once she, does that self-assessment with her skill sets, transferable skills, soft and hard skills, once she kind of does that self-assessment, also talks to her network about what they think her skill set is, then network again is key. She wants to jump on LinkedIn or whatever community type of thing she's a part of, and she wants to ask like-minded women. Maybe she knows a woman that's in the tech industry. Hey, reach out to them, ask, how did you get into this industry? How did you find success? What are some key capabilities that I need to have? So on and so forth. And just start reaching out to people. And that is really what has helped me progress in this industry, is to continually build out my network, and definitely focusing on women. I think as a woman, while the tech industry is more male dominated, there are increasingly women in this industry. And so there's plenty of women that would absolutely want to be an advocate for you and want to be an ally for you. And so I would say focusing in on that network, that allyship piece to gain understanding of how to get into the industry and how to find success.
Wonderful. So meeting other women that are already there and just starting to build the connections.
Absolutely.
Eventually, you have to take a leap of faith and start
Yeah.
figuring out what would be the good entry point to you based on what you've done
Right.
so far, right? Because I think
Right.
one thing that I took from you, I took many things, but one of the things you said, like, yeah, I had kind of an operational background, and based on what I did, so I said, okay, I'll just do it in a different industry.
Mhm.
So maybe thinking about what you already did, the experiences that you already had, not just the skills, but also like what are the things that you already know how to do, even if it's not in the tech industry, and how you can translate it into a role in
Right.
tech.
Right. Right, right. And I think if once you dive into that, you're going to see that what, like, let's say you look up a job description for an inside sales role at a tech company. And then let's say you've been in operations. If you were to compare those two job descriptions or your skill set with that job description, I bet there's going to be a lot more similarities in that than you think that there are, like just, off the cuff. So if you were to compare those, I think you're going to find that there are a lot of ways that you actually really effectively fit into that type of role.
Yeah, I think the only barrier would be that you need someone to give you a chance.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. And that's where that networking piece comes in. And, one thing I'll say about networking, just simple reach outs, even if you're reaching out to people and connecting with people, let's say on LinkedIn that you don't even know yet. Like you see a woman like, oh, she really prevalently posts that she's in the tech industry and she's doing these events and so on. And I'm just going to connect with her and reach out. I find that especially women are always game to help other women. We want to help each other. We want to see each other succeed. And I think that you will definitely find that, especially in industries that are more male dominated, because we want to continue to grow our presence, right? So
Yeah.
I would just take that leap and reach out to people as much as you can and connect.
Yeah, I think eventually it's who you know. It goes down to, knowing the right people who can give you a chance.
Right. Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, so much wisdom, Emily. Is there anything else you want to share with women listening to us today?
I guess I would say, something that I really struggled with just throughout my career development and things is confidence. And I think as women, we often struggle with that. And I would just encourage you to know, I mean, and I think you'll find this as you evaluate your skills and your abilities, that you are capable of anything you put your mind to. As you just got to take those leaps of faith and you got to take those chances. And like I said before, the worst that can happen is, oh, you won't love it or you won't get it. But if you keep taking those chances, you're going to land one. So just keep doing it and keep at it.
Wonderful advice. Yeah. Definitely, you can do anything you put your mind around. So, absolutely a great believer in that. Wow, Emily, you are wonderful. And tell our women about the little bit about the coaching that you do and how can they find you.
Yeah, so I mentioned that I'm a speaker. I also wrote my first book last year.
Wow.
It's not in regards to career. It's about my Christian faith and some struggles that I had with difficulty conceiving and pregnancy loss. So it's a very personal book, but if you have had loss or experienced difficulty with pregnancy, I would definitely encourage you to take a look at that. I am also a career transition coach, just kind of like what we talked about today, how I've transitioned to the different roles within my career. I'd love to help you do the same. And so I can really help you dive into that process of assessing your skills, your capabilities, your transferable skills, your strengths, and things you need to work on, and then help you get to that next level of your career. So that's what my coaching is all about. And you can find me on apluswomen.com. That's my website. I'm also very, very active on LinkedIn. If you just look up Emily Jackson, you will find me there. And I'm on Facebook as well.
Wonderful. I just took note. I will take all the links from you. Thank you so much, Emily, for being here with me today. This has been phenomenal.
Thank you so much. I really had fun, enjoyed the conversation. Now I feel more motivated going into 2026.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for listening to the episode. I hope it was valuable for you. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcasting platform and share it with any woman who needs to hear it. And I'll see you next week. Bye.